Peace and blessings to everybody out there. Welcome back to the Fake Woke Podcast. This is your boy Bobby VILN. I'm back with another video. We're here to talk about Jay-Z, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about Jay-Z. Now let's go ahead and run down the timeline of Jay-Z's accomplishments. In the 1980s, the gentleman was a street pharmaceutical rep. Turned rapper in 96, 2000 label executive, the 2000s label executive. Later in the 2010s became a tech entrepreneur, 2020 billionaire board member, but we cannot forget about his clothing line. He also was a fashion executive and he ended up making over $200 million off of Rockaway. Those are the accomplishments of Mr. Sean Carter himself, Jay-Z. Now, he made two very potent business transactions. One, he sold, sorry about that. He sold Ace of Spades, his champagne. He sold majority of his shares in Ace of Spades to LVMH. If you don't know who that is, that's Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. Now that's the company that got most of you niggas by the balls. Let's keep it real. Louis Vuitton got a stranglehold on the women. Moet and Hennessy got a stranglehold on all of us together. Let's be honest. I got a bottle of Hennessy sitting in the closet right now that I haven't even touched. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. But for the most part, that wasn't the only business acquisition that he made. Or I mean, not acquisition, but transaction that he made. The gentleman actually ended up selling Tidal, his streaming service, to Square. Square is a business owned by Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey actually created and owns Twitter. And Jay-Z went ahead and sold that for $297 million. Matter of fact, let's rephrase it. He bought his shares back from T-Mobile, 33%. He sold to T-Mobile, bought those back for $149 million, turned around and sold Tidal to Square and Jack Dorsey for $297 million, which bumped him up after making those two transactions, which bumped him up to $1.4 billion. Now, we all know who Jay-Z is. He's a career sellout when it comes to his businesses. He's a career sellout. He sold his shares in the Nets to start a sports agency. He sold Rockefeller up under Dame nose. He sold Rockefeller, I will say, up under Dame's nose. He's a career sellout. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a career sellout. Now, I know a lot of people are like, are you hating on Jay-Z? I can't hate on nobody that make more money than me. But the thing is what I'm doing is I'm pointing out that he typically he will start companies, or he would join companies with massa, build these companies up as the face of these companies, especially just for marketing. He'll use his face as marketing. He did the same thing with the New Jersey Nets. He did the same thing with Tidal. He did the same thing with Ace of Spades. He's doing the same thing with Douce, which he's going to end up selling Douce. He did the same thing with Def Jam. He was the face of Def Jam for a long ass time and then stepped down. He's a career sellout. He used his allure. He uses his him just being Jay-Z, him being able to promote the item due to the fact that he's just Jay-Z, gets it up there for a little bit, he sells high, get up out of there, and just receives a check from the master that he sold it to. That's exactly what he's doing with Tidal. He sold Tidal to Squarespace, took a couple of shares in Squarespace as an exchange, and then he got a seat on the board. So, and how I perceive it is because Tidal was struggling when it came to Spotify, when it came to Apple. Tidal was struggling because it was really predicated on the artist, which I'll give him his respect for. But he should have diversified the platform and made it more friendly for podcasts and so forth and so on. That's why not Tidal. That's why Spotify ended up doing the numbers that it was doing, even in competing with Apple. They was writing checks for podcasts and this, that, and the third, and they were doing good business for the most part. That's why Joe Budden went over there. That's why Joe Rogan went over there. These heavy hitting podcast people went over there because Spotify was cutting a check. Tidal fell behind that. Jay-Z didn't. Coming from my point of view, Tidal fell behind both of those hard hitters. Jay-Z didn't want to put up with it no more. I'm selling it. I'm going to take a seat on the board to where I can still get a check and to where I can still own a percentage of the company, a small percentage of the company. Even though he did sell it, yes, the artists that did invest in that company, they still own their shares. But yes, Jay-Z is a career sellout. I don't understand why we continue to big him up for constantly building these companies up, corralling the black community to get behind these companies and then selling them to the white man so the white man can profit off of these companies or the quote-unquote white man. That's where I lack understanding behind a lot of Jay-Z's transactions. And I know there's people out there that's saying like, well, if you don't understand that, then you're just gonna get left behind, this, that, and the third. I understand why he's doing what he's doing. When you start businesses, a lot of people like to start them, build them up, sell high, why they could because they feel like they filled the cup up to where it's supposed to be. They feel like there's no more wiggle room for it, so they sell high, get up out of there, and then just go start another business. I understand that. There's nothing wrong with that, but my thing is, instead of selling to get a seat at the table, why not create the table? You see what I'm saying? He's constantly starting these businesses. He's constantly, quote unquote, pandering to the black folk. Yes, black people could pander to black folk. He comes off as a political activist or a social activist or whatnot. He got the Basquiat dreads. But for the most part, every one of his empowering moves or his iconic moves comes with him selling it back to the white man, corralling the black folk to fall in line and support his endeavors, and the next thing you know, he sell it to the white man, sell it back to massa. That's my problem with it. And like, I get it. Maybe that's his approach to the situation. Maybe that's what his whole goal was. It was to profit off the people long enough to build this company up as far as I could build it, and then sell it back to the white man. So now I'm getting my check cut while they making the bigger portion. I already made my portion, and then on top of that, I made more on top of selling the company to you. Now I got a seat on the board. Now I ain't got to do much of the work no more while they do the work. And I'm still going to get my little check from them. And that's not just with Jay-Z. That's with Diddy, too. Diddy is not if I'm not mistaken, Diddy's not a full owner of Ciroc. Diddy is just the face of Ciroc. And he might have a little shares here and there. It's the same thing with Jay-Z and the Brooklyn Nets. He was a 0.06% owner of the Brooklyn Nets before he sold them. We got a knack, or not we, but the black mogul, who we consider black moguls, have a knack for buying companies and selling them back to the white man just so the white man can profit off of us. are massa. That's just my whole point. And for the people that are like, well, you're just hating on Jay-Z. I'm not hating. I'm not hating. My whole problem is just the simple fact that you claim you down the ride for the cause, you down for the people, but you continue to sell your people out for the dollar. That's my problem. You push these endeavors, you push these startups up on the black community, then you turn around and sell your portion or sell your company, which was a black-owned company, to massa. Now it's not a black-owned company no more, or at least it doesn't have a black face on it as it did before. That's my whole problem with it. But besides that, that's my take on the whole situation. Kudos to him. He got rich. I'm still working. A lot of people feel empowered by this. I'm just like, hey, it's another black man with money. How is it going to affect me? A lot of people say representation. We got plenty of representation. We have representation for years. We had plenty in the 90s, especially when it came to entertainment. But like, what exactly is it going? How is it going to benefit me? For the most part, I wasn't the one coding, doing anything on title, but for the most part, that's it. That's all I got to say about it. But make sure you like, subscribe, and share my content, please. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on BitChute. Follow me on Gab. I'm going to make a Rumble account. I'm going to make all types of accounts, and I'm going to try to keep up with it as much as I possibly can and post my content up there. Besides that, thank you. I appreciate y'all.